I analyzed 3I, Atlas, and NASA's response. Confirms my worst theory. Avi Loeb. When the Void Speaks Back. The Atlas Enigma. What if we've been broadcasting into a cosmic theater and something has finally taken a seat? For millennia, humanity gazed into the star-scattered darkness and perceived only silence, an infinite, indifferent void. Then, within a single decade, 3 visitors arrived from interstellar space. The mathematics of this convergence strain against coincidence, whispering possibilities that our comfortable models weren't designed to accommodate. The third arrival demands our attention now. The anomaly named Atlas. In July's observations, 3I Atlas materialized, hurtling through space at 152,000 mph, nearly 5 times the velocity of ordinary solar system debris. Speed alone doesn't explain the scrutiny this object commands. What comes next fractures our fundamental assumptions about interstellar matter. Astronomers rewound Atlas's trajectory through the cosmic dark, its origin aligned with no catalogued stellar system in our galactic neighborhood. This wanderer appears to have drifted for tens of thousands of years before entering our detection envelope. The mystery isn't its source, it's what preserved its integrity across such an odyssey. Natural comets disintegrate. They tumble chaotically, fragmenting with each gravitational encounter, shedding structural coherence like skin. Yet Atlas maintains a wholeness that shouldn't survive in random aggregations of ice and rock. This stability implies something unprecedented in our interstellar observations. When spectroscopy reveals the impossible. Initially, researchers expected Atlas to follow patterns established by its predecessors. Oumuamua in 2017, then Borisov in 2019. Both objects bent our understanding in distinct ways, but we assumed we were simply cataloging rare natural phenomena, witnessing cosmic oddities that remained explainable. Then, the Webb Space Telescope's spectroscopic analysis returned data that matched no existing reference library. The surface composition exhibits molecular arrangements too organized for random accumulation, geometric consistency. Temperature patterns maintaining stability across varying orbital positions. Density measurements indicating internal voids that natural accretion simply doesn't produce. But here's what elevates this from unusual to unprecedented. Radio detection arrays across multiple continents registered a focused emission from Atlas's position. Not background noise, not solar interference. A distinct signal that emerged once, correlated with specific orbital parameters. The question confronting researchers isn't whether Atlas defies convention. The data confirms that beyond reasonable doubt. The question is, what category of phenomena does this represent? And why are institutional channels strangling access to the complete observational dataset? Because that restriction, that's where implications become impossible to dismiss. The companions in the dark, the Gemini Observatory in Hawaii, captured something that shifts this investigation into uncharted territory. Multiple discrete objects traveling alongside Atlas. Not debris trails or fragmentation patterns. Distinct points of light maintaining precise distances from the primary body, moving with coordination that natural processes don't typically generate. When comets fragment, chaos follows. Physics predicts tumbling pieces dispersing at varying velocities, creating expanding clouds of material. But these companion objects maintain stable trajectories relative to Atlas, as if their positions are regulated by some mechanism we haven't identified. Amateur astronomers independently verified this phenomenon. Stephen Burns documented multiple luminous points in time-lapse sequences. A German observer recorded trajectories showing precise alignment. Alexander Flume captured a brief green emission, a diffused glow clearly separate from the main body, definitively not equipment malfunction. That green coloration raises its own questions. Comets typically emit green light through dicarbon molecules, C2 compounds fluorescing under ultraviolet radiation. but spectroscopic analysis from Chile's Very Large Telescope shows Atlas depleted in these carbon chains. The chemistry doesn't match the visible spectrum. This creates fundamental inconsistency. Either our spectroscopic instruments miss something crucial about Atlas's composition, or the light emission mechanism doesn't follow standard cometary physics. Both possibilities suggest phenomena outside our current classification systems. Structural impossibilities. Consider the engineering implications. Natural comets are essentially aggregates, loosely bound collections of ice and dust that fracture easily under thermal or gravitational stress. A hollow comet traveling at over 100,000 tiles MNPH should experience catastrophic structural failure from internal stresses alone. Yet Atlas remains intact. It survived a direct coronal mass ejection this month, a bombardment of charged solar plasma that should have stripped away surface material and shattered any weakly bound structure. Its continued coherence suggests either extraordinary material strength or internal architecture that distributes stress in ways random accumulation cannot achieve. NASA's Neil Gehrels Swift Observatory added another discordant data point. Atlas releases water vapor at approximately 88 pounds per second at 3 astronomical units from the Sun. At this distance, most comets remain dormant. The thermal energy simply isn't sufficient to sublimate ice at these rates. This means either Atlas channels internal heat through undocumented mechanisms, or its internal structure differs fundamentally from catalogued comets. Porous enough or hollow enough to create thermal dynamics that standard models don't predict. When silence becomes signal. Here's where the scientific process encounters something it wasn't designed to handle: deliberate obstruction. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, an institution built on open data sharing and peer review, abruptly restricted access to Atlas observation schedules. The European Space Agency mirrored this action almost simultaneously. Research collaborations that functioned transparently for decades suddenly fractured without public explanation. This isn't speculation. Data requests face denial. Freedom of information. ACT submissions return documents so heavily redacted they contain no usable information. The official justification: national security concerns. Consider that phrase: national security regarding an object passing through interstellar space. What does that classification suggest about what's being observed? The timing of this information lockdown correlates precisely with Webb telescope spectroscopic findings. Initial observations showing unusual velocity and reflectivity were released freely. But once analysis began revealing organized molecular structures, geometric surface patterns, and electromagnetic signatures mismatched to natural phenomena, the data pipeline closed. Scientists actively involved in early analysis found themselves reassigned. Observation windows vanished from public schedules. International partnerships that shared telescope time suddenly operated under communication restrictions, preventing normal scientific exchange. This pattern has precedent. When Oumuamua entered our system in 2017, certain spectroscopic and radar measurements were withheld for months. Borisov in 2019 followed the same trajectory: initial openness, followed by delayed data publication. Now, Atlas, arriving with even more pronounced anomalies, encounters the most restrictive information control yet: the pattern that shouldn't exist. Trajectory data presents a problem conventional physics struggles to address. Atlas is changing course, not through violent maneuvers or visible propulsion, but through subtle corrections, microscopic adjustments in velocity and heading that accumulate over time. Our most precise instruments confirm these changes beyond measurement error. Yet there's no visible exhaust plume, no detectable mass ejection, no conventional explanation for what produces these trajectory modifications. Multiple observation stations have documented velocity changes that outgassing or solar radiation pressure cannot account for. The accelerations are small, but real, and they occur at specific intervals correlating with our optimal observation windows. Consider what that timing suggests. These course corrections happen predominantly when Earth-based telescopes have clear viewing conditions, almost as if the modifications are designed to ensure visibility rather than avoid detection. Oumuamua exhibited similar behavior, accelerating without detectable cause. When the same acceleration pattern emerges with Atlas, an object with different geometry, composition, and emission characteristics, that explanation loses explanatory power. We're witnessing a reproducible phenomenon across multiple interstellar visitors. The statistical impossibility. For billions of years, our instruments detected nothing from interstellar space. Complete silence. Then suddenly, within less than a decade, 3 objects arrive in sequence. Oumuamua appeared in 2017, an elongated anomaly with inexplicable acceleration and rotation patterns. 2 years later, Borisov crossed our threshold at velocities exceeding nearly every natural comet in our catalog. Now Atlas arrives in 2025, carrying the most perplexing combination of anomalies yet documented. The statistical improbability is staggering. We went from 0 interstellar detections across all of human history to 3 confirmed visitors in 8 years. Either our detection capabilities improved precisely when interstellar traffic increased, or we're witnessing something other than random distribution of cosmic debris. Consider the progression. Each visitor escalates the mystery. Oumuamua challenged our understanding of natural acceleration. Borisov presented chemical signatures that expanded our models. Atlas now displays geometric patterns, internal voids, coordinated companions, and electromagnetic activity pushing against the boundaries of what natural phenomena can explain. This escalation suggests intentionality rather than coincidence. Each object arrives calibrated to challenge our comprehension without overwhelming it. Not so anomalous as to trigger widespread panic, but unusual enough to force us to question fundamental assumptions about what travels between stars. The mirror turns. Perhaps we're not the observers in this scenario. Perhaps we're the observed. For the entire span of human existence, we've operated under an assumption so fundamental we rarely questioned it. That consciousness in the universe is rare, isolated, perhaps unique to Earth. We built our scientific frameworks around this premise. We launched spacecraft, broadcast radio signals, aimed telescopes at distant galaxies, all while assuming these efforts disappeared into an indifferent void. But what if every signal we've transmitted has been received? What if every spacecraft we've launched has been tracked? What if our technological emergence in the past century triggered something we're only now capable of detecting? Atlas functions as a mirror, reflecting back a profound question. What if we're the ones being evaluated? The evidence suggests this possibility more strongly than institutional silence admits. The trajectory corrections timed with our observation windows. The structural characteristics that challenge natural formation. The progression of visitors escalating in anomaly precisely as our detection capabilities improve. The electromagnetic signature detected once, as if testing whether we're listening. The responsibility of knowledge. As Atlas continues its journey deeper into our solar system, our responsibility crystallizes. We must demand transparency from institutions restricting data access. Every measurement requires independent verification. Every anomaly deserves rigorous analysis without predetermined conclusions. Because somewhere in that darkness between stars, an answer exists. Whether Atlas represents exotic natural phenomena we haven't catalogued, or whether it represents something that transforms our understanding of what intelligence means on cosmic scales, either outcome expands human knowledge profoundly. The universe has already demonstrated it's far stranger than our models predicted. Perhaps it's also far more inhabited than our assumptions allowed. Atlas isn't just an object passing through our neighborhood. It's a question mark written across the sky, asking whether we're ready to consider possibilities that previous generations couldn't even formulate. The data exists. The observations are documented. Now we must decide whether we have the intellectual courage to examine what they're telling us.